It's been a minute. It's nice to be back in the YouTube long form scene. I haven't been here in a while, but I thought it'd be kind of fun to go down memory lane since it is New Year's Eve, and I feel like it's a tradition to post on New Year's Eve at this point. I did it last year, I'm doing it this year now. Deal with it, I guess. So instead of taking you throughout my boring day, I've literally done nothing today, I'm gonna show you my last 2, almost 3 years of notebooks. I did some videos like this in the past, but they were short form and I did not give you the whole picture because number one, a lot of these had to do with Masquerade and it was not published at the time, so I couldn't say anything. Number two, this sweet girl, or boy, or whatever gender, what am I saying? Okay, we're gonna restart that. This notebook wasn't in the picture yet, and this is my most current one. I'm almost done with it. As you can see, I only have about that much left. I'll be done by January if I keep working at it. A lot of this is me doodling during my religion and theology class. Religion and also history. Don't tell anyone. Don't out me like that. Okay, so anyways, we're gonna go through these notebooks. I'm gonna tell you some fun facts and some other things of that nature. So yeah, let's go through. I don't know how long this is gonna be. I sat down and filmed this with no plan. So, I highly recommend you grab a snack, maybe do something while you're listening to this, clean your house, I don't know, write something if you're a writer. Hello, besties, if you're also writers. And I don't know, just if you're into this, lock in, I guess. Alright, so we're going to start with the beginning of 2023. This is the first time I ever started plotting notebooks, like, seriously. And this was my first one. As you can see, the cover is ripped off. The first few pages are also gone. A lot of this was just me jumping around and doing some fun stuff. The end is mostly focused on Masquerade because at the time, like near the end of the notebook, I was finishing up Masquerade at the time. And I was also starting Exposed Draft 2, I believe. So this was early Libya, okay? And this is also right when I was finishing up Exposed. Like, I think this was the month. I started this February of 2023. So it was the month I finished Exposed. The first draft, not the other drafts. So let's just take a trip down memory lane, and I'm going to tell you some things in this notebook, and I'm going to go a little in depth. So again, yeah, just stick around if you're interested. So, the notebook, it starts off with this. These are a bunch of character sheets. Nothing Exposed or related. This is all for a fantasy world, and I never used any of this again. But this is just all character sheets of different, like, officers in this kingdom I was creating. It's pretty cool. I can't believe, like, this, like, world has been, like, there's, like, this, okay, I'm gonna mansplain my other projects for a minute, so sit down. Alright, so anyway, so there is this, one project that I have, I forget what it's called, I forget what I called it, but, there's, like, this one world I created called The Other World, and basically, it has, like, these, I think it's 12 kingdoms I did, and they all are centered around a different magical or elemental ability. Like, for example, there's, like, a water kingdom, there's a fire kingdom, so I was doing a lot of stuff for that fire kingdom, and I was, like, planning it out. It was a lot of fun, and I really enjoyed it. So, yeah. And then also, I was really into this one book series called Path of the Ranger. At the time, it's still very good. I don't have the books anymore because it got very weird near the end. And by very weird, I mean very weird. But it was really good. I personally liked it. It's on Amazon. I forget who it's by. But I did really like that series. But I was really into it at the time, so a lot of it translated over. And I also have a Path of the Ranger OC in here, which, wow, seeing that in 2025, almost 2026, is crazy to me. Okay, so this is not about that, though. I just went on a tirade. So we're gonna go, like, shift our focus. I'm gonna go find some Exposed and Masquerade content, because that's kind of what this channel is about. And if I find something else interesting, I will definitely, like, talk about it some more. I don't know. We'll see. Okay, forget what I said about this being mostly Exposed and Masquerade related. That is a lie. I found another story. Oh my gosh, that I wrote that I think I wrote some of this, but then I deleted it, which is stupid because it was actually a good premise. Me and my ex came up with this together, actually. It was about, like, this vigilante story, and it was a similar premise to Exposed, where there were, like, criminals sent to, like, another area. It was a dystopian story as well. And there were people who were on death row. There were people who lived inside, like, this, like, horrible town, and they were all criminals. So I guess I was copying off, what's the series name? I don't remember the series name, but I remember reading a book similar, where, people, oh wait, it was EOS. That's what it was, EOS. It reminds me of that book. I literally just finished it. I'm like, what book was this called? But yeah, but it was kind of like that, except instead of, like, all the factions, like, the liars, the thieves, whatever, going to different towns, it was like every single criminal went to this one decrepit town. It was really interesting. I had some really good characters there. And one of my characters was named Seraphina, if I remember. Was it Seraphina? Let me see. Why didn't I? Oh yeah, Seraphina. That was her name. So I might do something with her later on, because she was a cool character. And I also had some other characters. I had a character named Amber. I remember Amber. She was sweet. Kane, with a K. Kane. Kane. Yeah, that's how I spelled it, which is weird. I would spell it a different way now, but okay. And we also had a character named Dustin. After watching Stranger Things, that's all I could think about, but I hadn't watched Stranger Things at the time. So, Dustin. He was not like actual Dustin, though. He was annoying. And then we have Felicity, which I think I remember her being very cool. So I might actually do something with the story in the future, because I completely forgot it existed until now. So this is actually so freaking cool. What the heck? Oh my gosh. And then we got into some Masquerade content. Okay, so this is actually one of the first things I ever wrote for Masquerade Draft 1. This is a Nathan point of view. I think this was the first time I was writing his point of view. I can't remember if I had already started Masquerade at this point, or if I was writing it in advance, because this was the memory in the first chapter of that draft. So I could have very well started the prologue, or I think I did start the prologue, and then I couldn't, like, get back to writing, so I was handwriting it. So in this memory, Nathan's mom dies, basically. And this is where it changes, because Nathan's mom died in a very different way here than she did in the actual book. So in this version, Nathan's mom died in childbirth of his younger brother Matthew. So he was 8. He was 8 years old. He wasn't as old as he was in Masquerade when he found her. But yeah, she died in childbirth. And that was what it was for the first 2 drafts of Masquerade. So that's pretty cool. I'm going to see if I can go find some fun lines in here for you. So you can kind of, like, you know, see some first draft Olivia, some 15-year-old Olivia writing. Okay, I just read this. So it's Nathan, for an 8-year-old, was calm and collected on the outside, but raging on the inside. He wanted to see his mother, but he was content for now with the strawberry lollipop and iPad he hadn't turned on. And also, fun fact, the first I think the first draft of Masquerade and the first draft of Exposed took place, I think, in 2050 instead of 2175, 2180, whatever. But they actually took place, like, in our current timeline, except, like, give or take, like, 20, 30 years. Which is really interesting to me, because, like, they had things like phones, they had iPads. It wasn't this dystopian society. It was just something that it was, or something that our current government kind of implemented, which is very weird to me now, looking back on it. I don't know why I made the years that, but that's just what they were. So I guess that's a fun fact for you. Okay, and this scene spans about 5 pages. And I know this was actually right after I finished Exposed, because I have, so up here, if you can see this, these are actually chapters of Exposed and the page number that they were on, so I could do a table of contents, because I didn't know how to do a table of contents until last year. That's embarrassing. But yeah, so this was actually right after I finished Exposed. This was probably the same day, which is crazy to me. Like, oh my gosh. So there was also another story I found. I flipped a little bit. There were some other, like, small projects I wrote down that I'm not going to share here. But there was another story that I never wrote. I just made characters for. And it was called The Death Rose. Honestly, this is a very interesting premise. But there is, like, this royal family that was all, like, had different curses. I actually, like, am writing a story similar to this right now. I honestly forgot this existed. But basically there was like different curses cast on the children of this family. There were 3 kids, and I think the 2 daughters were cursed, while the son had like these like welcoming abilities. Let's see. Yeah, so there were 3 siblings, as I said. There's Octavia, who's the oldest, Rose, who is the middle, and Edward, who is the youngest child. So Octavia has the power of darkness. I don't know what that means. It says that curses and emotions are the root of her power. Still don't know what that means, but okay. And then we have Rose, who was born with the same power as Octavia, but she doesn't tell anyone. I don't know what that means, though. Like, what is the power of darkness? I don't even know. Like, what the heck was I thinking? Okay. And then we have Edward, who has the opposite power of his siblings, the power of luck and blessings, which makes his parents use him for wealth, health, and status. In return, gets the most love and affection from his parents. So that's interesting. I might write this and, like, expand it a little bit more, because this is interesting. This reminds me, this is interesting. This is so cool. Like, what the heck? Okay, and on the next page, I found a recap of the Exposed plot. So I'm going to read this to you, because this was for the first draft of Exposed, and it's changed so much since then. So I'm going to read this to you. This is really exciting. Okay, so recap of the plot, Exposed. So put on your listening ears, guys, because I'm going to try and slow down because I'm talking really fast, and I'm sorry. Okay, so plot. The camps, Persephone didn't have a name yet, so tirade. Persephone didn't have a name until the beginning of 2024. So, this is the beginning of 2023 right now. This is when I'm writing this. It's like February, March of 2023. Persephone did not have a name, so I just called it The Camps. That's what I called this. It's so weird looking back on it, because I know it's the same thing, but it doesn't feel like the same thing. Anyways, I'm gonna read this to you. Okay. So the camps have been run by the government, but within, the government isn't the only thing running them. And then we have the camps, and I put describe in parentheses. So it's white bricks, white linoleum floors in the hallways. Cells are gray bricks. Vents in some of them. Meeting room, dark blue walls, TV, whiteboard, long office-like table, office chairs. Fake plants in the corner surrounded by prairies/hills faded into woods. Also, that meeting room has, I'm pretty sure, stayed pretty much the same throughout all 3 drafts. It is where Paul and Persephone are usually, like, whenever Persephone's, like, writing notes down. I'm pretty sure that has stayed the same. Like, the dark blue walls, the TV or the whiteboard. There's always, like, a plant. I'm pretty sure that has stayed the same. I could be wrong, but I remember that room is pictured so clearly in my mind, and it always has been. So that could have stayed the same. Anyways, I'm going to continue. So, state, so like where it takes place in the United States. So it takes place in Ohio near Sugar Creek, which has actually completely changed. It's now in Kansas near Topeka. So originally the camp's Persephone was in Ohio. Don't ask me why. But now it's in Kansas. And, yeah, and I said the time period was 2050. So, yeah, like I was saying before, like, this was in 2050, which is crazy to me. And then we have the characters, which I wrote: Nathan, Mabel, Trinity, Harold, Atlas, Avalon, Clover, Micah, Persephone, Paul, Lindsay. There were more that I didn't mention, but okay. And I just raced through them because, like, it really doesn't matter. And I said genre. Oh my god. What? Huh? So I said the genre was romance and sci-fi? And I put maybe dystopian? I'm concerned. Romance? Where is there romance in this book besides Persephone? Hello? Even in first draft, there wasn't that much romance. Okay, maybe Atlas crushing on Trinity like an insane creep, but other than that, where's the romance? Where is it? And maybe Nathan and Clover, I guess. But those are side plots. That isn't a romance book. Okay, sorry. I'm going to stop my crash out now. Okay. And then I wrote finished book, crazy characters, and yeah, that's it. And I wrote about the backtrack, a machine that messes with your mind, all that fun stuff. So it's changed a lot. This is weird to look back on. Oh my gosh. I'm gonna see what else I can find. Oh wait, I found this. Suffering is a song. Oh my gosh. Suffering is a song. Okay, this was an interesting one. So it was basically like just for short summarization. I think I have 11 pages of world building on this thing. Like, this is how much I had. And they're double-sided, you know, I had a lot. So basically it was about like these people with different types of blood, like blood types, and they all had different abilities. So this was also dystopian, but I did like a lot of in-depth dystopian world building. Some of it has actually translated a bit to Exposed, which is crazy. But yeah, I used some of this for Exposed, so it was really helpful for me, and it was great. It was wonderful. So I'm gonna go look for some more. I'm gonna see if I can go find some other like nuggets of information, and maybe we'll get through one notebook in a couple more minutes. It's already been like 20 almost at this point, I'm pretty sure. So, and we've got like 6 more other notebooks to go through. So if you like to hear me talk. Okay, so I also found a like a masquerade plot thing. So so basically, like, just for some context, like, songs have such a huge part of my writing process, okay? Like, I love listening to music, not while I write, but before I write. It helps me map out scenes. Lyrics will help me get, like, what characters listen to, you know? So one of the big songs that has really helped shape Masquerade and, like, Corrupted, my 3rd book, is Another Love by Tom Odell. It is one of my favorite songs. I actually learned how to play it on piano. I still need to do better at it because it's really slow and it takes me 15 minutes to play, but I'm working on it. But this is literally one of my favorite songs ever. It's so close to my heart. So basically I wrote this thing about like what I kind of imagined while listening to the song, if that makes sense. So I'm just gonna read this. It's like about a page. So and this is also kind of like a summary for Masquerade as well for the first draft. So stay tuned, listen in, I guess. I mean, if you want to. All right. So I wrote another story behind the song Masquerade Edition. So I said, Trinity is kidnapped at her own wedding, and Nathan sneaks Atlas in to see her. The two lovers reunite for a short while. Atlas promises with Nathan to free her when it's the right time. Trinity waits for months, but she and Atlas realize that there is no hope as Nathan can't see her or sneak anyone in. Trinity and Atlas both lament, Trinity wanting to be reunited with her love, and Atlas struggling through the pain of not seeing her, and he misses her. Trinity okay, I'm not going to read that last paragraph because I have to explain it, because that's not going to make sense to anybody. I'll explain it in just a minute, but just also for context, this is only explaining one scene in Masquerade. I thought I explained the whole thing, but as I was reading, I'm like, oh, this is just explaining one specific scene I had. So this is just one scene. This is actually, like, when Nathan sneaks Atlas in to see her, that is actually a scene in First Draft Masquerade. And, it's really sad, it's really cute, you know. So for the last paragraph, so I'm gonna read it to you and then I'm gonna explain it, because, just so you know, like, this requires context. So it's, Trinity starts becoming more brainwashed, she is losing hope, she is starting to believe that she is evil, she can help Persephone, and that she's twisted and demented. So what does that mean, you may ask? Well, originally, I think I've explained this before, but in prior versions of Masquerade, Trinity was kidnapped by Persephone to kind of be her sidekick. So Trinity became Persephone's sidekick. She was brainwashed to believe everybody was evil, so she must murder them, I guess. So we had a Trinity villain arc. I am honestly really sad that it's not there anymore, because it was really freaking cool. I will be the first to say it. She had a cool villain look. I drew a whole villain look, and it looked good. And now I'm mad that this happened. Okay. Anyways, we're gonna go on. I'm gonna see if I can go find some other stuff, because I can't sit here and explain every single story that's in this book, because it would take hours if I did. I'm not joking. It would take hours if I explained every single story that is in here. So I'm gonna see if I can go find some other current book related stuff, and if there's something like really interesting, I'll come back and I'll tell you about it. Okay, and I actually found something else interesting. So, I also hand wrote some of Masquerade. So this is Masquerade. This is an excerpt of chapter 9 of the first draft. So in the first draft, there were only, I think, how many chapters? I think it was 8 chapters per part. If I remember correctly, now it can fluctuate, but before I was a very strict 8 chapters per part. So this actually started on Aspen's part, and this was my first time ever writing Aspen. Ever. She was a completely different character from the book that you have today, from Masquerade Today. So this is a memory scene with her old backstory. It always had to do with, like, a gang type thing. Always. Always, 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 always. So I'm gonna read some of this to you. I'm not gonna read all of it, but I'll read a couple paragraphs just so you can get an idea of how different she was, because it's crazy. Okay. So, Aspen felt her hands and knees scrape against the dirty stone. She watched her rescuer point her dagger at the teenagers. Then she saw her rescuer stab their dagger in someone's stomach. Aspen closed her eyes, trying not to have that image stay in her mind. A few moments later, she felt someone tap her on the shoulder. Aspen opened her eyes and started to scream when she saw that her savior had black eyes. But before a sound could come from her lips, her rescuer covered her mouth. "It's all right," the savior said. "I usually get that reaction, kid." Aspen blinked again, staring at her rescuer's black eyes as her mouth was uncovered. "Are your eyes really black?" Aspen squeaked. "No, they're pink," her savior said sarcastically. "Of course they're black, kid." This was 15-year-old me writing, so I'm cringing just a little bit. But this was when Persephone originally saved Aspen. Savannah was on the picture. Aspen was originally an only child. So this was basically before the siege. She was there was like this gang of teenagers who were basically tormenting her, and Persephone came and saved her, which I think is pretty cool. And also, Aspen was also a runaway from her foster care's home because her parents were murdered. So that's cool. So yeah, she's a little bit more anxious here. She's a little bit more scared, more reserved. Now she's just like, I don't care about anyone, which I love her so much better. I love that I don't give a frick attitude. It's amazing. I love her so much more for that. Also, I found an old planning page for book 3, which is Corrupted. And I'm going to be starting writing process videos. So I'm going to read a little bit of what the plot was usually about. And if there's spoilers for like this upcoming drop, I obviously won't say them. But I think this is really interesting. So I said the book name is Corrupted. The main parts, so we have the prologue, which is in Harold's point of view. It still is. It has always been in Harold's point of view. This third draft, it will be in Harold's point of view. But I'm thinking about maybe switching it to Savannah's point of view. I think both would be very interesting. So, yeah, well, that's a to be determined for this draft. But for draft 1, it was Harold for the prologue. But it was originally going to be Aspen, which is crazy. It says prologue was going to be Aspen's point of view, but then it changed to Harold. Actually, I'm going to tell you what it was originally, and then I'm going to tell you what it is, like, what, I updated it, I guess? I don't know if that makes sense. Okay. So here we go. So we have the prologue, which was going to be an Aspen point of view, but I never wrote that. It was always a Harold point of view. And then part 1, I said, was originally going to be Trinity, but that switched to Persephone, because I basically switched up the whole premise of this book before it started. It's a long story. I'll probably explain more about it in the writing process videos. But yeah, it's a Persephone part. Currently, it always has been a Persephone part, except when I wrote down, like, oh, it could be a Trinity part. This was when I was brainstorming. I wasn't even done with Masquerade yet. This was let me see. This was in May, I'm pretty sure, of 2023. This seems like May because I remember writing... May or June? No, it was June, because there was another project that started in June, and I specifically remember it was in June. So this was June. So I would not start Corrupted until October of that year. October, I think it was 18th I started, because I remember leaving a comment. It was October something. So, for book 3, I did not, like, start this book, or, like, anything about this book, until October. So this was all just brainstorming at this point. So, anyways, I'm going to continue. I'm sorry for that tirade. Okay, so then we have part 2, which I put, so there was a cut character in Masquerade that was a big part of it. And it was Lawrence. Lawrence was a big part of Masquerade. I had to cut him because he just didn't fit in the story anymore. He was a great character. So he was going to originally have a point of view in the 3rd book, or it was going to be Atlas or Harold. I just didn't know yet. But now the second point of view is Shiloh. So, really fun. I love Shiloh. Shiloh's great. Okay, so then part 3, I put to be Clover, or another character that was cut named Sonia. And Clover ended up being that character, which is really cool. In part 4, I put Nathan or Harold, or a new character, having that point of view, but then it ended up being Harold for part 4. It always has been. It still is in this third draft. And in part 5, I put Clover, Sonia, new character, maybe Aspen, and it ended up being Trinity. And it always has been Trinity. So this was interesting. And in the epilogue, I put Harold or Dorothy, which I've introduced you a tiny bit to Dorothy. But yeah, the epilogue was Harold and Dorothy, but that has changed. Both drafts I have written, it has actually been an Atlas epilogue, which pretty cool. I love it. All right, so I'm gonna see like what else. Okay, let's see. So takes place about a week after Masquerade. That is still correct. It was originally a month apparently, but now it's a week. It has always been a week. Let me see. Okay, so this actually has changed a lot, and I can actually spoil this. So Persephone and Aspen have faked their deaths as Trinity becomes the leader of the Assassins group, and Harold as her sidekick. This is interesting, because originally Persephone and Aspen, as was said, faked their deaths. Unlike with the end of Masquerade Now, where they were just like, oh, like, we just left, no one knows where we are, haha. And same with Colby and Hunter. But Colby and Hunter weren't really a big part of this book, as they are in this draft. Let's see. So, and then Trinity, because remember, in this draft, she was brainwashed, and she was like evil Trinity. So she becomes like the new Persephone of the group, and Harold is her sidekick. But then I crossed out sidekick, and I put little torture device. I don't know what that means. And I'm a little concerned to know what that means, because I never wrote it. Never wrote it. Okay. Oh, wait. Okay, Harold was still in the basement at that point. Harold in the basement has not changed, but that's why I wrote that, is because in this specific the first draft of Corrupted, he was still in the basement of Persephone's mansion. Okay, so then this was all crossed out, so I'm going to read it. So I said, Harold is still working for the other side, aka Persephone's side, and gathering intel, while Nathan, Clover, Harper, Jaden, Lawrence, Sonia, and Atlas are in hiding. Now, I think I crossed this out because Masquerade's ending changed to where Harold was in a basement and just rotting in the basement. So, originally he was actually with Persephone to pretend to work for her and get intel. So that's cool. All right, so, oh my gosh. My babies! Okay, wait, I forgot about this. Okay, so then actually, so some fun facts about Shiloh and Dorothy, because I haven't really told you guys too much about them, but they are a huge part of Corrupted, and they're great, and I'm so excited to introduce them to you. But in this, I wrote 2 new characters end up seeking refuge with the Assassins, aka the Trinity group that I was talking about, and I wrote Silas and Dawn, and Harold tries to warn them about the dangers they face. So originally, Shiloh and Dorothy, like the earliest mentions of them were actually two characters. They sprang from these 2 characters named Silas and Dawn. Silas and Dawn were orphan kids, about 11 years old. Maybe, I think they were twins. I can't remember. But they were like young kids who found refuge in Persephone's mansion, and Harold kind of like takes them under his wing. That has completely changed. They are actually completely different characters now. I can't say too much, but they are definitely older. They are not related to the group anymore, and they are not children. Well, I guess they're adolescents. They're teenagers, but they're not children. So this is very interesting to me. And then I wrote Trinity somehow gets rescued at some point. Because originally the rescue did not happen in Masquerade. It happened late in Corrupted. It happened right before, like, that was the climax, was Trinity getting rescued. So it's very weird because I had to go shift the whole timeline of Masquerade. Because in every other iteration, Trinity was rescued in the 3rd book. So, that's a fun fact for you. That's a really fun fact for you. So I'm going to continue looking, because this is interesting. Oh, and I also made a list of every single character name I remember, and it's, like 7 pages long. And I'm not going to read that to you, because it's 7 pages long. I also found a scene that showed up in first draft Masquerade, where, and this did not show up in any, I think it, did it show up in draft 2? I don't think it showed up in draft 2 either, but it was only a draft 1 scene, where Trinity actually goes to spy on Atlas and Nathan, and they're talking about her, and Atlas is venting, and Nathan's like, bro, you should go to therapy, and Atlas is like, absolutely not. So, that was a fun scene. That's really funny. And I found something else. So, remember how in Masquerade, this is a spoiler for Masquerade. There's a lot of spoilers of Masquerade in this video. I should probably put a warning in here when I go back and edit. But, in Masquerade, Trinity has always been the one to shoot Atlas in the knee that causes his limp. But the scene always turned out a little differently than what I put, in the actual published novel. So, originally, Trinity actually shot Atlas of her own free will, and they still ended up together somehow. So Trinity shot Atlas of her own free will because she thought Atlas was an abusive, horrible person. So she shot him in the knee because Persephone told her to, and then all that. So I'm gonna read some dialogue off to you because this is some of the, number one, most cringe dialogue I've ever read, and number two, it's funny. It's me 3 years ago. Hello? We're both bound to it, Atlas. Trinity took a deep breath as she held up the gun. Either I have to kill you, or you have to kill me. It's simple. Atlas looked stricken. The gun in his hand was shaking violently, and he looked about to cry. Trinity felt a pang. She wanted to lower the gun, but she couldn't let her past lover get to Clover. Oh, wait, I forgot to explain that. Before I continue, Clover was kidnapped. In the first draft of Masquerade, she was kidnapped. Like, she was kidnapped and tortured for information. Our sweet Clover. I know. I'm a horrible person, thank you. But, yeah, but the whole thing was, like, to try and not let the other characters get to Clover. Because, I don't know. And she was kidnapped to, like, the end of the book, too, which I'm like... So yeah. Anyways, let's continue on. Trinity. Atlas's voice was soft. Don't shoot. I'm sure we could work this out. Work this out? Trinity growled. Just like we tried to work out our life together? Look at what happened there. I found out about your lies and web of deception. Your little masquerade is over. You can stop pretending to care now. I'm not pretending. Atlas tentatively took a step forward. I do care about you. Let me prove it to you. He took another step closer to her. Trinity looked away, the gun now pointed at his heart. I have to shoot. I have to shoot. I have no choice but to shoot. Atlas took another step closer. Trinity. Ever since I first saw you, I fell in love. I want you. I need you. I can't live without you. The last month has been torture without you, and I just want you beside me. Maybe we can work this out, get out of here, and escape your sister. For me, Trinity, please come back to me. Trinity's thoughts whirled. She felt dizzy as she held up the gun. Was he telling the truth? Is this a tactic to let him go? Suddenly, Persephone spoke in her earpiece. She almost jumped at the noise. By the way, Trinity was wearing an earpiece during this whole scene. So, anyways, continue. What are you doing? Kill him! Wound him! Don't just stand there! And then Trinity shoots him after that. So, yeah, that was some cringe dialogue from Olivia 3 years ago. Yay! I also found another Masquerade scene when Clover was kidnapped and Nathan found her. So, I'm going to read that to you as well, because this is cute, and it's only like a page, maybe a little bit too. So I'm just going to read this to you, and yeah, so this will be fun. Anyways, Trinity leaned outside the walls of Clover's cell, with Persephone, Aspen, and Savannah hiding in separate places. Nathan spoke. What did they do to you? His voice was hard and angry. Clover spoke weakly. Nothing too bad. Oh, honey, you're all bruised. His voice was suddenly soft and tender, but there was also an anger behind it. Then his voice took on a tone that showed he was bent on revenge. Who did this to you? They all did, except Harold. Even Trinity? She was one of the worst ones. Clover's voice shook. Where are they? His voice hardened in anger. Right here. Persephone stepped into the room, grinning. Did you really think I was that stupid? Oh, Nathan, you knew better than that. Trinity peeked around the doorway to see Nathan standing next to Clover defensively, and Persephone facing them, twirling her gun and dagger. Nathan's face was a mix of shock and anger. He took out his own gun. I'm going to kill you. Are you? Persephone laughed. Nice joke, Nathan, but I have something that will make you hesitate. And then everybody else comes in the room. There's chaos. That's it. That's all. This is really funny to me. And it's crazy. It's just so crazy. And then I have some Warrior Cat fanfic stuff, which is weird, but okay. And I wrote a bunch of French girl name ideas. So I have a bunch of French names in here. I didn't know that, actually. I'm gonna, fold this if I ever need it again, because that might be helpful, just to have names. There are a lot of good ones in here. There was Lunette, Dominique, Eloise, Sylvie, Maribel, Ariel. Oh, these are pretty. These are really pretty. Oh my gosh. Yeah, but that's cool. I'm gonna keep scrolling through this. I'm pretty sure we're not almost done. We're not almost done. But we'll keep going. wait. Okay. I gotta calm down and I gotta go tell you, this actually. So, when I was in acting classes, I mentioned this story on my channel at some point. I forget when. I filmed a video on it. It'll be in the description, in the comments. I'm gonna link it down below so you know what I'm talking about. But, I pretended to be Persephone for 4 straight hours. And, I had to write a monologue. So, I have 5 drafts of a monologue in here. And I'm gonna read some to you because they're so great. And they're funny. And they suck. And this was September of 2023. So, we're moving along. Okay, so here's the first one I wrote. Here we go. And this is no new information about Persephone, except it follows the timeline when she lived in an alleyway. So that's why this might be a little confusing, and I'll try and explain some of it, but yeah. Anyways, here's the first one. Have I done enough? I don't know. Part of me refuses to, but Paul's revenge still isn't complete. I miss him. He was my first love. I knew him for 14 years before he died. Before my own sister killed him in cold blood. 6 years. Has it really been 6 years since that day? It doesn't matter. What matters was that he told me, and that was to take his revenge. Okay. I wouldn't call myself a vengeful person. Few things come to mind when I think of vengeance. My mother, my siblings, how I got my dues. And that sucked. So I wrote another one. Here's the second one. And then I'm going to skip around a little bit and show you the last one. The one that I tried to memorize in a day. So I'm going to do this one and I'm going to go to number 5. So here we go. So I don't really talk about my story. I don't discuss what made me the way I am. My own daughter doesn't know. But yet here I am about to disclose it. And context. Aspen was Persephone's adopted daughter at one point, so that's what she means when she says daughter, is that she's talking to Aspen. She's talking about Aspen. So that is not like that anymore, but that's what it used to be. Anyways, I'm fairly direct, so here's the beginning. My mother abandoned me and my 3-year-old sister in a New York City alleyway when I was 7. She told me she would be back, promised even, but she never did. Well, we have that out of the way now, but it's not the end. It's a beginning. After about a day in this alley by ourselves, another group of fellow castaways found us. 3 siblings. Paul, Lindsay, Sean. Oh, Paul. Anyways, we teamed up, Lindsay, Trinity, my sister, and I, named Angelica at the time, stayed in the alley. I know what you're thinking. Someone like me couldn't be named something so pure. That's where you're wrong. It was a mistake on whoever named me, but I corrected it soon enough. And this was the monologue I tried to memorize in a day. This was 4 pages. I tried to memorize this in a morning. And I ad-libbed it because I forgot it. Obviously I would. I wrote this the night before and I memorized it the night before in the morning of. Because I'm just so smart. Okay, I'm going to read this to you because this is great. And then I'm going to skip around more of this. So here we go. So, Aspen, I don't know how to begin. I've done so many things. Yet, here you are, asking. My mother abandoned me and my 3-year-old sister when I was 7 years old. We were left in an alleyway alone. My pathetic mother promised me that she would return, promised she'd be right back, but she never did. It's still something that enrages me. Don't feel sorry for me, Aspen. Pity does nothing. Me and my sister Trinity, we stayed in the alley for a while, still no sign of the woman who left us. That was until someone found us. A girl named Lindsay, and her 2 brothers, Sean, who was older, and Paul. He was younger than me, about a year difference. Yes, Aspen, he was my fiancé. So I found out that Lindsay, Sean, and Paul were also castaways, homeless like me and my sister. So we banded together and we set up a system. Trinity, Lindsay, and I stayed in the original alley, whilst Paul and his brother stayed in one farther down. Also my daughter. It is important to note that my name wasn't always Persephone. I was named Angelica at this time. It symbolizes someone I hate. Don't ever call me that. Anyways, the story continues. Sean died a year after we banded. Then, when I was 12, our lives started to change. Lindsay and Paul had come up with this idea called the criminal projects. Places to put criminals since jails weren't doing a good job of it, and a way to adequately punish them. So I was roped in, and Lindsay started pushing for these to come a reality, even though we still lived in an alleyway. A year later, Lindsay was able to go to Washington, D.C. to negotiate terms, and while she was there, some things happened. You see, at this time, I was developing feelings for Paul. I'll admit I had a little more than a crush, but I found out that he had someone else, a girl named Avalon. After, I did something that you may call desperate, and it was no denying it, but what I found after devastated me. So that night, I looked through Paul's messages and was able to find Avalon's address. I remember it like it was yesterday. In the alley, Lindsay kept a gun for emergencies to protect if needed. I took it, and I went to the girl's house. I only meant to blank to her, I don't know. Maybe threaten her a bit for the fun of it, but that wasn't the case. My younger sister Trinity followed me. After this, I broke into the house through a window and I saw my mother. When I demanded an explanation, she told me that my father had left when I was 3, taking another sister with him. Then she had tried raising me and Trinity until she gave up and went back to my father, having another kid. A brother for us. I couldn't take it, so I shot her. She deserved it. She ended up working as a chemist, so when my brother, 6 at the time, and my sister, she was the one Paul was dating, Avalon. Either way, I was able to find sleeping gas and was able to kidnap them and later send them to the camps. That was also the night Angelica died. I killed her too. That was the night I became Persephone. What was this? Okay, this was Persephone's old backstory. I mansplained that whole backstory for a monologue, and I forgot. What was that? Huh? That was so confusing to follow, too. I'm so glad I simplified it. But this is so confusing to follow. As a writer, as someone just listening to this, tell me you aren't confused. Like, in the comments, let me know. Like, were you confused during this? Because I certainly was. What the heck was this? Hello? And I don't know if I can show you any more Masquerade content. because most of this is corrupted. And then there's an exposed draft 2 scene. I started writing exposed draft 2 at the time. So there was a lot of scenes where there was exposed and stuff like that. So let's see if I can share this too. I'm just scanning it really quick. Oh, this is when he and Trinity met. This was originally going to end up in the book. Yeah, so I wrote a whole scene about how he and Trinity met on other sides of their cell wall, which is pretty cool. It's really cute. And yeah. And I also wrote about all my characters' children that may or may not show up in a future book series. Oh my goodness. I'm starting to lose my voice because I'm talking so much. But oh my gosh. Okay, so I also found, so I was friends, I still am friends, I still am very close friends with this person. So me and one of my first close friends were in a car ride together, and we decided to rank my characters based on certain categories. So we have like 3 pages of this, and I'm gonna share some of these to you. Rita, I don't know if you're watching this, you probably aren't, but if you are, I'm outing you. Sorry. Okay, so first we're going to start off with attractiveness, because that's what 15 to 13-year-old girls do with their time. I was 15 at the time. I think my friend was maybe 13, maybe 14. Something like that. I don't remember. Okay, so we did a girls and a boys category. So for girls, I put Avalon as the least attractive because she's a horrible person. Then we put Aspen right behind her because I really did not like Aspen at the time. So Aspen was not attractive to me at all. I had Mabel as number 3, which is like somewhat attractive. She was in the middle. Okay. And then I had Clover. Clover would be more attractive, but okay. And then we had Persephone, who was one of the most attractive girls. And then we had Trinity, who was the most attractive to me, apparently. So that was my rankings. And then my friend pretty much had the same, except she had Avalon, like, least like me, and she had Persephone, then Aspen, then Mabel, then Clover, then Trinity. So our first and the last are the same, but the middle is kind of like switched up. So that's pretty cool. Let me see if I can go find another ranking that's interesting. Let's see. Okay, and then we put favorites. So my favorites included Avalon was my least favorite. Atlas was my most favorite at the time. I don't agree with that actually anymore. I would say that Nathan is down there as well as Clover, some Persephone. I would not say Atlas is my favorite. I would not. He's one of them. He's like top 3, but he's not my favorite. So anyway, so we have Avalon as my least favorite. Then we have Aspen as my second least favorite because I really don't like her. At this time, I love her now, but at the time, I absolutely despise this woman. And then we have Paul, who I put as my, I don't know what to think about that. And then I have Micah, Mabel, Nathan, Persephone, Clover, Harold, Trinity, and Atlas. My friend pretty much had the same, except some of these were basically just kind of mixed up a bit. So that's pretty cool. We both had ours. Oh, and she hates Paul more than me, apparently. She put him at number 1. Why? I mean, like, Paul's okay. Okay, I shouldn't be saying that. Like, I wrote him to be not okay. So, yeah. Let's see. Oh, and I wrote down birthdays for all my characters. I'm gonna go mansplain this to you. So I have birthdays for all my characters. So then we have Aspen's is September 25th. Paul's is December 30th. It was yesterday. Paul's birthday was yesterday, guys. And then we have Micah, which is August 27th. Avalon, which is October 8th. Clover, which is March 18th. That's why my exposed publishing date was March 18th, in case you couldn't tell. Nathan's was January 26th, still is. Mabel's is May 2nd, but I'm pretty sure I changed that to June 2nd, last I checked. Persephone's is February 22nd, which is the day I finished my first draft of Exposed. Harold's is November 3rd. Trinity's is July 7th, and Atlas's is April 12th. But here I wrote April 14th, which is wrong. It's the 12th. So, yeah, fun times. Oh, and I had a rabies research page because I was using rabies as my base for things that happened in the backtrack. I'm a weird child. I also drew what the uniforms looked like in Persephone. So this is like a bit of the uniforms and things like that. So that's pretty cool. I have some draft 2 scenes in here, and I rewrote the scene that Atlas and Paul, and when Paul came up to Atlas and asked him to work for them. So that's really interesting. I'm really happy about that one. And then also, like, right after that, I had the scene where Sunny is questioning Atlas about all of this. Both of these scenes ended up making it into the final draft of Exposed, which I think is pretty cool. And this is where I first wrote them. 2023, end of 2023. So that's really cool, I think. There's also some stuff about Dorothy and Shiloh in here, but I'm not going to say any of it because, again, book 3 is coming up, and most of this book is the end of book 3, book 4 type stuff, so I don't want to spoil too much. But I do have a book 4 planning page, like I did with book 3, so I'm going to tell you just a little bit of that. Not all of it, but a little bit. I'll see what I can say and what I can't. Okay, so I can't tell you the name of the book yet. That is sealed. I'm revealing it on my own time. So the main parts, I don't mind telling you the main parts, because actually the ones I wrote down here, I don't mind telling you because all of this has changed. So this was the draft 1 kind of like thing. So we'll see. So I had the prologue, which would be Harold. That has not changed, actually. First draft of my 4th book, it was something different, but this draft, it is actually Harold, so I think that's really cool. Part 1 is Atlas. Part 2, I put Trinity or Dorothy. Can't tell you if that's changed or not, because it did change, actually. I can't tell you that. It did change. It is neither of those characters anymore, so that's cool. Part 3, Harold or Nathan. It's one of those. I'm not going to tell you which one. Part 4, I put Trinity. Maybe we get another Aspen part or Sonia, that cut character, so Sonia. Haven't decided, and I want to do a Clover part, which none of these, were a part 4 part. None of these characters had a part 4 part in this book. And we had part 5 for Harold/Nathan, and I put maybe someone else, and an epilogue, I put question mark. So, I'm going to tell you just a little bit from my little notes. So actually, I can't tell you any of this, except for it takes place 1 year after Corrupted, which has changed. Now it takes place 1.5 years after Corrupted, so it's a bigger time jump. But other than that, yeah. And again, this was stuff I was projecting when I was only 4 chapters into Corrupted. That's what I wrote up top. So I was only 4 chapters into Corrupted while I was planning this out. But it was, honestly, it has changed a lot from this planning page. So that's always good. That's great. And I can't wait to tell you more about book 4, but right now, we're going to focus on book 3. Okay, guys, this is actually a future book 5 scene that I was writing in the big 2023. What? I didn't actually write book 5 until this year, which is so funny to me. It's been 2 years. But they were talking about COVID. My characters were talking about COVID. This was the first book 5 scene I had ever written, and the first thing we decided to talk about is COVID. What? Okay, I'm gonna read some of this to you because it's kind of funny with no context. It's an abandoned parking garage, Nathan said. No one will be here. He paused. This place must have been built in the early 2000s, if I had to guess. Earlier than the worldwide pandemic? Questioned Atlas, fingering the gun, forcing back a laugh. Atlas remembered learning about it in school years ago. Apparently it was some terrible virus that had spread worldwide, and before the presidency had started to become... I can't tell you that. So, we're gonna continue. You really believe that? Nathan questioned lightly. Harold rolled his eyes. Why, you don't? Nathan sighed, glancing at Clover, who raised her eyebrows. Well, it seems a bit improbable, he conceded, twirling the gun in his hands as he made it down to the ramp the cars used to use. A virus? High death rate enough to be considered pandemic and have people locked in their homes? Nathan stopped. Seems highly unlikely. You know, Clover sighed, my grandmother lived through it. She said it was pretty traumatic, and it took a while for things to go back to normal. Atlas smiled, enjoying the banter. Harold sighed. Well, the virus didn't even seem too bad from what I learned. I mean, it was a pandemic. What do you expect? I don't know if this is gonna, I don't know if this is bad, but it's really funny to me that my character, because this is when I moved the year from 2050 to 2075, and I jumped at a 100-year time jump, I think in the middle of Exposed Draft 2, so like around this time. So it's really interesting to me because they're really like, they weren't alive at this time, but it really wasn't that long ago. It was only like 50 years ago at that point. But now it's 150. It's weird. It's weird, okay? My timeline is weird. I also had a whole Dorothy and Shiloh scene that actually ended up having variations in the second draft of Corrupted, which is pretty cool. And there's going to be also a scene similar to this in the third draft in the published version. So I'm really excited to tell you a little bit about this, but I can't. And this is also back when they both had completely different personalities. I've changed them completely. I can't really tell you what the scene's about. It's just them talking, and it's like an 8-page scene of them talking. So yeah, that's pretty funny, I think. And also at this point, in the notebook, we are at 2024. I've had this notebook for almost a year at this point. And there's only like a couple more scenes, and there's like an in-between Exposed and Masquerade scene, and then there is one for book 4, and then that is it, which is crazy. So this ended in the beginning of 2024, and that concludes the first notebook. I spent over 40 minutes talking about this. I feel crazy. I think it's been almost an hour, over an hour. I'm sorry for keeping you. I mean, oh my gosh. But it's just so weird to look back on. And I tried to, and there was like a lot more in here that I did not mention. But this was one of like some of my favorite things to write, some of my favorite things to do. And it's crazy. I don't think I'm going to do the rest of the notebooks in this video. I think I'm just going to do them. I'm going to split them up. So this is notebook 1. And then I'm going to go through my other notebooks throughout the next month. Maybe I'm going to film a couple videos on the weekends and go through a notebook a day, I guess, or like a month or whatever. I think I'm going to start filming the other one right after this though, because I think it'll be fun. Yeah, but anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed. Hope you guys enjoyed the saga. And I really hope you guys liked, it's fun times. Hope you guys liked hearing me ramble. Thank you all for watching. See you in another video.